Step two, mechanical magic. This is probably something that you're comfortable with because it really is your wheelhouse. One of the things about technicians is that we train them and we pay them to fix things. And they tend to have very strong mechanical aptitudes. I do not have a strong mechanical aptitude, which I've done well without it. But I really admire people with a strong mechanical aptitude, people who can look at things or listen to things and tell you what's wrong with it. My brother has a very strong mechanical aptitude. He can look at a mechanical situation. He can kind of tell you where the problem is without having to spend much brain damage doing it. I can't figure things like that out. So your mechanical magic is everything you do in the house that is going to create massive value that you're going to leverage in step three. One of the things you cannot do is simply go in, do the maintenance or do the repair and book it. That you're never going to have the kind of success that you want. You have to take the time to add, as you see there, relative perceived value. We've all heard that term value a million times. But the relative perceived value is really, really important. That word in the middle of that, perceived, what that means is that for their value to exist, and by the way, your mechanical magic, your ability to diagnose complex problems, your ability to use all those diagnostic tools to figure things out, there's a shit ton of value in that, but only if the homeowner sees it. If you go tell your homeowner the startup current on their blower motor's high, they may or may not believe you. Why? Because we're all conditioned to believe only what you see, not what you hear. On the other hand, if you bring that homeowner and they see your amp meter and you tell them where it's supposed to read and they see it peg out, guess what? Now all of a sudden there's a ton of value. Not just in that they see the problem, but they value your expertise and profession to be able to diagnose that problem. Here's a simple pro tip. The more the homeowner is involved in diagnosing the problems, the more involved they will be with purchasing the solutions. It's as simple as that. All too often, technicians will go in, diagnose a bunch of problems, come back and start reading a laundry list to the homeowner. Here's what's wrong with your system. I call that in that next bullet point, that's tattletelling, right? I want you to show and tell. I want you to show your homeowner. Explain things to them, not go tattletale the system. Here's what's wrong with it. Here's what's wrong with it. Your system did this. Your system did that. People have no connection to that. And even worse, they might not believe you simply because people are conditioned not to believe what they hear, only believe what they see. We've been taught that since we were little kids. So the relative perceived value, the value only exists if your homeowner perceives it, if they see the value. If you just tell them, they're not going to see the value. I was on a call one time with a young man, came in the house, and the lady the carpet was damp next to the mechanical room. Obviously, the pan had stopped up, was overflowing during the summertime, but he doesn't explain anything to her. He just kind of puts his hand right there and feels where it's damp, looks in the mechanical closet. He can see the pan is overflowing, goes outside to the drain, and you can see there's a dirt dauber's nest in it. It's not draining. Clearly, it's plugged up. Comes back in, tells the lady, well, we can clean out the line. I'm going to put this little pan cleaner in here so it doesn't happen again, and it's all going to be fine. And it's like 300 and something bucks, including the trip charge. And she's like, well, how much is a diagnostic? And he goes, I think it was $79 or something. She says, well, how about I just pay the diagnostic and get a second opinion? She didn't believe anything he just told her because he didn't show her. He just told her. So I intervened. I was there on a training visit and I said, ma'am, can we start over? And I told the technician, explain to her, take her outside, show her the dirt dauber's nest, show her the dry as a bone drain, show her that pan fill that's overflowing in the corner. And so he did. And of course, at the end, she said, yes, the $300 or $400 to take care of it. You have to educate people and show them. One of the stories I write about in my book, Consistency Selling, and you may have heard me tell it before, it's about a guy named Joe, the concrete guy. Joe had a little concrete business up in the mountains west of here, and he comes to my house to pour some steps one day. And as we're talking about my steps, he points out that my driveway needs to be widened. And before I knew it, I was spending $10,000 to widen my driveway. And I had called him about some steps. That was it. Now I'm getting steps and a wide driveway. And I got to talking to Joe and asked him where he learned to do that. And he says to me, he says, I've learned a long time ago that if I'm going to make a living and pay my bills, take care of my family, I have a very simple job. And that is every time I walk onto a piece of property, I look for every problem that concrete can solve. And I tell people that is the simplest explanation of what we should be doing. You simply walk into the house and explain to your homeowner every problem that you can solve. Let them make the decision about what they want to do about it. You don't have to twist anybody's arm. You don't have to high pressure anybody. It's about high service, not high pressure. But you got to show. And one of the things technicians will sometimes do is they withhold information because they think, oh, they just want the maintenance done. Oh, they just want the repair done. And so we're effectively making the decision for the homeowner that you're not interested in other things because we don't even tell you about them. You have to go in, take a comprehensive approach, and find every problem you can solve and let your homeowner know about it and shut the hell up. Let them decide. Kind of like this. Imagine you went to the doctor, you had a problem with your shoulder. Doctor gives you a shot in your shoulder, fixes you up good as new. Everything's coming up aces. The next day you have a massive heart attack, damn near kills you, right? You're in the ICU and you're in there for several weeks, very serious heart attack, caused some muscle damage, right? You're not sure you're going to live. Family's not sure you're going to live. Doctor says you may have a second or third heart attack and you're stressed out. One day while you're laying there in the intensive care unit, you see the shoulder doctor walking by. Shoulder doctor walks by and you give him a shout out. He looks in at you in the intensive care unit, all hooked up on the monitors and tubes and whatnot. And he says, man, what the hell happened to you? And you say, Doc, it's the craziest thing. The day after you fixed my shoulder, I had a massive heart attack. Damn near killed me. I've been here for weeks. And the shoulder doctor looks at you and says, well, I'm not the least bit surprised. I thought you were going to have a heart attack the day that you were in my office. And you say, Doc, you knew I was fixing to have a heart attack? Why didn't you tell me? He says, well, you came to see me about your shoulder, not your heart attack. And how would you feel about your doctor? You wouldn't have a lot of confidence in that physician, would you? Because we have an expectation, if I go to see the doctor about my damn shoulder, but you see I'm fixing to have a heart attack, or maybe I got cancer, maybe, just maybe, you ought to let me know about it, and I'll figure out if I want to, seek treatment or not. But how dare the doctor withhold that information from me because I came to see him about my shoulder instead of my heart or my cancer or whatever. But how many times do we walk in the house and we go in and we fix the shoulder and we leave? And we never talk to the homeowner. We never even look for the heart attacks. It's not how a professional operates. That's not how a professional conducts himself or herself. We have to take the time, be comprehensive in our approach, get the homeowner involved, and build that relationship and build that value. Don't minimize, dramatize. Here's one of the things I've noticed about professionals. As a technician, you probably can do what you do in your sleep. And sometimes when we get really good at something, we kind of take it for granted. I was talking to a guy one time who was a neurosurgeon, freaking brain surgeon. And I said, it's amazing to me that you can cut somebody's head open and then sew them back up and they live through it. It's amazing to me. And he goes, nah, it's no big deal. I do it a couple of times a day. I mean, here is a freaking neurosurgeon dumbing down what he does because in his mind, it's no big deal. Technicians do this all the time because you can do it in your sleep. It's no big deal to you. Don't minimize the value of what you are delivering to your homeowners. Your ability not just to diagnose the initial problem, but your ability to find other problems, potential problems. You can see through walls. You can see through time. You can see what's going to happen next to that system in a month from now or 2 months from now. Don't minimize that. That's where the value is.